Hi friend, it's Hunter from Interactive, and in today's video I'll show you how to create this business card mockup all within Blender here. So it's a full 3D scene, and if we have a look at it, you can see we can edit this. I'll show you how to shade it, model it, texture it, and do all that stuff. So we'll start in Adobe Illustrator, then we'll move to Photoshop, then we'll jump into Blender. And of course I'll put the time codes down below, and there should be chapters to the video so you can skip to the section that you would like to watch. Maybe if you just want to watch the Blender section, you can jump forward and start watching that. If you're new or an intermediate user of Blender, chances are you don't know all the shortcuts, and you're going into menus constantly to use the tools that you want to use. So I've put together a hotkey PDF so you can pick and choose the shortcuts you use day to day and implement them to help speed up your workflow inside of Blender. You can download this PDF down below for free at the link in the description. Let's move on to the video. Alright, let's jump into the video. So to start with, we're going to come from Illustrator, and we need to set up this file ready for Adobe Photoshop. So if I go File, New, and we're going to create a business card size here. So in Australia, we have a business card that is 50 by 90 mil. The other way around, sorry. So 90 mil wide, 50 high. And this will vary a little bit. This is just how we're doing it. You could just look up standard sizes. I may have this wrong. We'll do it at this size anyway. Now, another thing is we want this one to be RGB. I'm going to keep the high detail at 300 ppi or dpi here, and we can also name this if we wanted. So this one's arty type business card, and we can create that one there. So now we can set up this document. I've got some assets here that I want to grab, so I'll just go Control C, Control V, paste that in, and I'll just scale this one down to roughly the size that I would like it. Also, I want this color in the background here, which is currently locked. Let's go grab that over in our layers, unlock that. I'll just go Control C, Control V, put that in. You can use Command and the left square bracket to send it to the back, or you can just right click and come down here and go Arrange, then do back there. And so then what I can do is just scale this one down till it fits the size. Like so. So now what I want to do is start dividing this out. So that we have the files separate. So I'll just call this first layer BG. The next one will be called type. And we want to do a gold. So we'll call this one gold oil, like so. And from here, what we can do is start dividing some of these out. So this here, I want the top out here to go to the top layer. So if I just double click on this, select the man with the top out, what I can do is go Command X, double click out, and then I can just select that top layer, go Command F, then I'll paste him to there. Then I'll select this group here, and I'll just drag that one up to there. But another thing I want to do with this group is just go to Pathfinder and unite these shapes. Alright, so from here we should be able to go File and Export As down here, and what we'll do is we'll jump down to a PSD. I'll navigate to where my file should be saved, and I'll stick it in here. Business card PSD. I put a number at the front, and that's just like the job number. So the file has a number 26, and if I put a number in the front here, when I go to search, like Mac has a spotlight search, I can go 026 and it should come up. Let's try 025 or something like that, maybe 14. So you see here popping up with folders with the files of the name. It makes more sense in the Finder, but it just helps for me to find the documents faster. So then another thing I'll put at the end is a number at the end, A01. Now I've started using these letters as identification for the computer. So my main computer is A, and then when I send it to my Windows computer to render, like videos and things like that, I'll set it as B. So I know what an A file and B file, and I know which computer created what. It doesn't really need to do that because it's all Dropbox links anyway. But just when I'm in Blender, it's helpful to know that the B file is my render file. So let's save that in here. And it'll bring up some options here. So we want to go RGB, resolution 300 ppi. I want to write layers. I don't want it a flat image. So we'll do that, and this should be all good. Hit OK. That'll export it out. And now what we can do is navigate to that folder. So I've just got it down here, and here we can just open it. That'll shoot it into Photoshop, and so this will create all these nice layers for us to start working with. Alright, so now that we're in Photoshop, we want to set up our layers like this one here. So I'll show you how to do this and why we need to do this. So first of all, let's start off with our background color. This is just a reference document that I have. Let's jump back here. I want to start off with a background color. Let's go solid color as an adjustment. Background, I want it to be white. Go OK and drag this one to the bottom. I'll just double click the name, go BG, rename that. Now what I can do is start pulling this out. So we've got background. Have a look at what I got here. So I'm separating this. So what I'll do now is keep that as background color, and we'll rename this one to something like mask background. The next thing I need to do is turn the type. I'll go over here, we've got a text here. So if I just create a new folder, I'll call this one type or text, drop this one down, and what I want to do is duplicate this into there. The only reason I'm doing that is to keep backups of it so that I'll have multiple versions of this. You don't have to do it, you could delete that file like that and leave it like that. Next one is the gold, and so what we'll do now is we'll grab the gold, get a folder, I'll call this one gold foil, drop the gold foil inside and close that like so. Alright, so now we need to export these all as separate files. So what I'm going to do is I will just hide the background color. I'll save this one, so we'll go file, save as copy, and we'll save this into our images, and I usually just make a new folder in here. Call this one 01 textures, like so. Create that, and in here we can start putting in the textures. So right now the name is here, and at the start I'm just going to put text mask. Let's cancel this one. Let's hide the gold foil as well, and then save that again. So that's Command Option and S is save as copy. That's also the Control Alt S, I believe, on Windows. So then I'm just going to get rid of the copy. I don't want it to be a copy. We'll put at the start the text mask and then score. Now what I can do is save it as a TIFF, and this will keep as much quality as possible. I don't need the layers here because I'll have this Photoshop file to come back on. Hit save and we'll go okay. Now let's turn off the type, turn on the gold foil and save as copy again. Let's go back and I'll drop this one in images here. There's a TIFF and we'll call this one gold mask. Save. Okay. Alright, so we are actually ready to jump across to Blender now. However, before I do that, what I'm going to do is actually showcase all this so that I've got this file, and I'll save this one as just an image. So I just want this one to create our model. So what I'll do is I'll just save this straight into images and give it a name. So, and we'll drop this in as something like a JPEG. Yeah, hit save. Okay. Now what we can do is jump over to Blender. I'm going to just save this. We'll go File, New General. And in here we can go X to delete all. And we can start filling out this scene. So the first thing we need to do is turn on a add-on. So under Edit Preferences, then Add-ons, we can search here for plane. And this one here, we want import images as planes. Check that one here so that it's enabled, and then that should be good. Now out here we'll go Shift A, we'll go down to image as plane, and then we can navigate to where that folder is to find it. Yeah. And we'll grab that image, we'll import it. So there's our business card there, and this should have some textures to it. Okay, but we'll replace these. So the next thing I just want to do is I'll just raise this up. So GZ to raise it up a little bit. I'll add a modifier. We'll add a solidify modifier, even thickness, and I'm just going to leave the default. I think that's a pretty good thickness for a business card. And then what I can do is go here and apply it. The next thing I need to do is UV unwrap this one. So right now, I think it already UV unwrapped really nicely, but I just want to grab the edges. So we'll deselect everything, free for face select. And then what I can do is Option or Alt click the edge here. I want to get the loop. We might have to just shift click all the faces here. So I should select all them, update this using the live link, and I'll just scale this one. We'll scale this in the Y down to about as thin as it should be, and then I'll just move this one down to there. And now if I tab out, we'll just make sure that our materials are still good, like so. Now what I can do is go to layout, and I'm just going to start dividing this one up. So right click, split vertical, and then I'll do this one, right click, and we'll split this one horizontal. Just click on this one and we'll go S for shader editor. So it's also here, but you can just press S. It'll automatically bring it open. Now I'm going to press N to hide this panel here. And we'll start working our way through this. So there's a few things we need to do. We need to add a camera. We need to add some lights also. So I'll start setting up my scene a little bit further before I add some textures. So right here I want to go Shift A. We'll add a camera. And I'll go Alt R. Let's circle that. and I'll just go up. Now we can look in a camera view just by hitting 0. Up a little bit more. GZ. Go Shift A, Mesh, Plane. Scale that plane up just so that it fills the background. Now I did do something with this plane, didn't I? So what I could do is just move it up, move it on the X till it's in the center here. And then I'll just duplicate it, move it down a little bit, move it on the X just a little bit, and do the same thing. So Shift D to duplicate, GZ to move down, and just move it across like so. Alright, so now let's change some options. I want to switch over here my render properties. I'll click this one here, we'll change this one to cycles, and I want it to be GPU. Now what I can do is jump over here and go viewport shading. But first, I just want to drop this down. So I only want 128 samples for these two. And then we'll go viewport shading. Look at that. Now we need to do a little bit of lighting. So I did it by Shift A, add an area light. Drag this one up. And I scaled this one out a little bit on Y. I also, let's take it up a bit further. Let's go about 2000. Hit enter. Now that's very bright, so we might drop that back to 1500. Pull this back further, something like that. And now what I want to do is go Shift A, add a plane, move this one up just to the side. I'll scale this one up nice and big. This is just going to be a flag to cover some of the light. So now select these two without the camera. Let's grab that one. And now what I can press is my period key. We'll bring up this option here and I can rotate around the 3D cursor. Also here, you can click that. Usually on medium point, we want to rotate around the 3D cursor. And so now we can just go R and Y. Just drop it something like that. And then I want to go 7 to look at the top. R and Z. Just angle it. Now I can continue to adjust this, so I'm going to go G, Z, Z, and I'll just keep moving this back further. I'll do the same here. And I can also go G, X, X. Move this in that plane. Now I can go back to median here. And now I should be alright to start texturing some of this. So what I'm going to do here is I'll add a new material. I'll just call this one plain. And I'm going to make it like a blue. A deep blue here. Let's select these other two by holding shift, then shift clicking this one last and just going and L. And we want to link the materials. That'll send it across them. Going to adjust this a little bit more. Let's go disk. Make it a bit bigger. It'll soften the light a little bit more. And I'll brighten it further. Something like that. Just continue adjusting this around as you would like. Now what I want to do is start texturing this. So I've got some textures stowed away under my assets. And we're going to use some of these. So I'll just pop them here. I've got under paper, I've got a gold foil. We'll want that one. So let's just go back here, select our business card. And we're going to start building this out a little bit. So if I just find two textures. So the first thing I would like to place down is actually the text. So if I bring this up like that, so this is our text here. And what I can do here is go to Shift A and I just drop in a UV and just plug the UV straight into the vector. We'll go UV map here, and down here we want to add an add mix shader. We'll drop that on there, then we'll bring the color into the factor. And so now we've got something going on here. So what's happening here is this image here. So if I just go, I have to have my node wrangler turned on for this. So preferences, go to your add-ons, search node wrangler, make sure that's checked. And what we can do is go Control Shift and just click on that. So what's going on here is this color here, so the black is acting as a mask. So if I bring it down, the black is currently it's saying if anything's black, show the top one here, so whatever's plugged into the top shader, and anything that is any other color, like everything else but the black area of this image, will be the bottom. So right now I currently want to switch this so that the paper isn't connected to that. So then we've got this option here. So now it's black with no shader. And so then I can go, I want to just unplug these two and delete that. So I've got white paper. I'll go Shift A and I'll just input, let's search, and we'll go principled, and we'll plug that principled into the top. So now it's white as well. So now we can control the color of that principled, like so. Zoom in a bit so I can see. So this means now I can really pick any color like that. And so that also means that this paper here, I can pick the color of the paper. So if we go back to Illustrator, here we have a color, canvas sort of color. I can grab that hex, come back to Blender, drop that hex into here under hex, paste. So now we've got the color of the paper coming through. The next thing I want to do is gold. So what I'll do is I'll drop the gold in. We want to use the same UV, so we'll grab that UV, plug that into vector. Also I want these color spaces to be non-color. There we'll go in here, non-color, color. We'll add a new mix data. Drop that one in. I want this one to go to the bottom, and we'll plug the color into the factor. So now we have our gold. I'll go Shift A, search, and we'll add a principled. And we can plug that one straight into the shader. Now we've got white, and now I just want to drop the roughness pretty much all the way down, 0.2, metallic all the way up, and we'll pick a sort of gold color there. You can see something's happening. But the next thing I want to do is actually get a little bit of a highlight on this gold. So we'll go Shift A and I'll add in a light. We'll add in a point light. And I'll just drag this straight up above the camera. And you'll see if I move this in the Y, we'll eventually move it in until it hits that gold foil there. So what's happening is the camera is facing directly down. And so the light is currently bouncing from here, hitting the gold, bouncing straight back into this point of the camera here. So now we can continue customizing this. So there's two things I want to put in, which I've got to find. I want to put in a gold displacement here. And we can start setting this one up. And so I've got a more in-depth tutorial on displacement, which I just uploaded, and we create a detail inside the bottle. And so that'll explain it a little bit better. However, we'll go Shift A, we'll add the displacement here. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. We can plug the displacement into here. Now I'll probably run this displacement through some other stuff a little bit later, but we'll do that when we get there. So displacement into height. And so you can see now that's really doing it across everything. So we need to really separate some of this. So what I'll do is I grab my paper texture, which I have to find that one. So I've got this lovely, just an image texture here. We'll plug this one into the height. Have a look at that. So we'll go UV map, plug the UV map into there. I also want a mapping one for this one. And we'll plug the UV straight into there. We'll change this one to non-color. I'll add a mix node. I believe this mix node's new to 3.4 alpha. Now we do want a factor, so the factor we can grab from the gold here. So I'd say to tell Blender where to put which texture. So I want the gold leaf where the gold is, and I want the paper texture everywhere else. So then we'll plug the gold leaf in here. So currently it's the wrong way around. We just have to switch those two. Like so. So that's the gold leaf texture, that's the paper texture. And currently our heights are crazy, so let's go and go 0.05 to drop that down. Another thing is I want to go into my shader, come down and go to settings, bump, and we want displacement and bump. And we'll continue to tweak this. It is not looking very good currently. So the other thing I can do is clamp the colors a little bit more using color ramps. Plug the color ramp in there, and I have to see the colors. So just going Control Shift. So let's go back to this one. And I'm just going to close. We'll just keep playing around with this. I may change the texture for this one. Play with a different paper texture. So this is just about playing around with a lot of these settings. Might make the paper wider. I'm going to push the light up even more. Really want it to be higher contrast. So then another thing I could do is under the render settings, color management, we'll go look medium high. That'll give it a little bit of better look. Another thing I could do is create a new UV map, because this image is different ratios here. You see here it's really squishing my textures. So what I'm going to do is add a new UV map under here. I'll select my textures, go S, scale this in until it looks like the business card. I could rotate this one, fill it, and we'll go back here and we'll select that UV. There we go. Now I want to scale this a little bit, so let's go mapping. Grab these two and we'll just try 0.5. Looking a tad better now. Now I can start crunching these a little bit so that the depth isn't as big. So I just want a little variance between the color. And different textures will give different results. It's worth playing around with this. So let's have a go at the gold. Color ramp, drop that in there. Now I think with the gold I really want to pull the colors together, so let's go somewhere here and bring the white down. Another thing with the gold is I definitely want to scale this one, so let's add in a mapping. So we want this one smaller. Something like that. Let's bring those two colors close together. So let's go have a look at the values. I've got a 3.339 on this one and a point. So let's go 0.3 there. There you go. So this is where we start getting the gold. So if I have a look in the HSV, which is value, under the value slider I can go 0.32, something like that. This starts to give us a real nice gold look. Just bump this one up a little bit. We can push the size gold more. Bring this close together. Too close. Something like that. Another thing you may notice is the gold is indented, so it's pushed in. The way we can fix that if you want it to work to the same is this is just to do with the displacement map, and it takes values, so anything above black will be displaced and raised. So what I can do is these two are different sets of colors, and I can just add in a brightness and contrast, drop that one onto the displacement, and we can either push the brightness up, so keep pushing it up, or bring it down. So you see there it popped the other way, so we could just go negative 0.5, something like that. Not even that, negative 0.5, just to raise it up a little bit. 0.08. See that sitting better on the edge now. Alright, so you could continue tweaking things, colors, lights, all that sort of stuff, and trying to get a really nice result. Boost the color there, and once you're ready, you should be good to render. I might just add a little bit of a bring up the rate. Another thing I could do is add a little bit of roughness to that gold here, just so it fades off a little bit more in the light here. Alright, from here you can continue playing. You can continue playing with the paper textures. This is the paper color down here. We've got, here is the type. I would personally keep playing with the paper texture here, which is under the displacement over here, only because it's not looking like paper at the moment, and it could be just to do with my textures that I've used. I had it fine in my other document, but it's just a bit of trial and error. You got to play around with things, try new textures, try new UV maps. That could be another issue, is it's stretched and it's making a weird texture from that. And I could also continue altering the color ramp here. However, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to give it a render now. So first of all, we haven't saved this whole time, so I'd save it. We'll go save as. I'll drop this one in my Blender files, and we can give that the name 026, and I'll put that A01 because it's on my main computer. Hit save, and I'll go render. It shouldn't take too long. We've only got 128 samples, and it also is set to denoising for us. So there you go. So you can pretty quickly and pretty easily render out a business card, and the more that you learn Blender and the more that you use Blender, the quicker this process will get. So the benefit of this is that we can now take this business card and we can say, hey, I want to duplicate this, and we can put it in all sorts of spots. And we can duplicate this business card out, and we can make new scenes, we can move the camera, we can add new elements, we can do all this really cool stuff, and this would go really well on a portfolio for us. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them. And until next time, I'll see you later.